Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Today is Monday, October 27th, and this will be the first full 5-day week I've had since the beginning of October because I was out for my powerlifting meet the week after we had a staff development day, and last week we had a U day. So it feels good to be back to the typical 5-day routine, but it's going to be a busy week. I mean, what else is new? Wednesday is our next house day. It is also crazy hair day.
You lit your hair on fire today. What about tomorrow?
And then Friday is Halloween, which means we are doing our storybook character parade. That's where our students dress up as characters from their favorite book, and we have a parade, plus, you know, it's Halloween. So sometimes having crazy weeks makes the time fly by. Other times having crazy weeks makes the time pass really slowly. So we shall see what the teaching universe will bestow upon me this week, but let's go ahead and get this Monday started. Alexa, play Final Countdown by Europe. I really hope if you have an Amazon device nearby, it heard me and is now playing that song. But y'all, it is the last week before my team teacher returns from maternity leave. I am so excited. Can you tell? Now, good news, bad news. That's the good news. The bad news, there's a different sub this week, but it is the same sub that actually started in her room when she went out earlier than expected. So that is a little more good news. It's just this is now like the 4th transition between subs, but it's the final week, so we can do it. Like, you can do anything for a week. That's definitely not true, but you can try, and that's what we're gonna do. Now, that being said, I have definitely been struggling lately. However, I don't wanna go into that now. We're gonna wait, and we're gonna do that at the end of the vlog. That way, if you're like, Michelle, I really don't wanna hear, you know, your negativity, you can just click off and be done with the video. But I do wanna just kind of go over how I've been feeling, because every time I do that, even though I don't enjoy doing it, I don't enjoy the vulnerability, I don't enjoy letting the world know that I don't have it all together, every time I do, I have people that reach out to me and are like, thank you, because I've been feeling the same way, or I thought I was the only one. So I know that there is a big purpose behind it, and it's very meaningful for some people, but we're gonna wait until the end because I may end up in tears again. We'll come back to that. And also, I've realized you reap what you sow, and you know, a big part of that is when you get into this negative spiral, all you see is the negative. It's like your brain seeks that out. And by human nature, we're kind of designed to see the negative because it's a survival mechanism. However, when you focus on the good and you focus on the glimmers, you find a lot more of that, and it impacts your overall mood and therefore the mood of those around you. And so I want to start out this week on a positive note. And there are plenty of glimmers. Like, if I look for them, they're all around us. And actually, as I'm looking up right now, the first glimmer that I can share is we got new lights, like overhead lights throughout our school. It's kind of funny because it started, I guess, Wednesday night they installed some of them. And so we came in Thursday morning and like some rooms had them, some rooms didn't, mine did not. But when I came in Friday morning, they were installed, and they have a dimmer switch. So you probably can't even really tell a difference on camera, but they have more of that kind of fluorescent, I'm gonna call it like a white light as opposed to more of a yellow light. And then this is what the dimmer switch looks like. So right now the lights are on, and then I can dim them by holding down that button, and then I can brighten them by holding down that button. Another glimmer is something I'm excited to implement this week that will hopefully, fingers crossed, help my students with their multiplication fact fluency, because we have been riding the struggle bus, and I know we're not alone, so it's fine. But my students do not know their multiplication facts, and it is concerning. And while I know it's more difficult for some students than others to memorize their facts, I get that. However, as we start to move into bigger, you know, representations of multiplication, so doing 2-digit by 2-digit, it is so pertinent that students have their facts memorized, because if they're having to spend time figuring out their facts, like by skip counting or other strategies, it's almost like they lose track of where they are in the process, and then they get confused, and it just takes longer, so it feels more frustrating. And there are a lot more negatives than positives when it comes to not knowing your facts. And therefore, as a team, we decided we want to really incentivize our students to memorize their math facts. And we are going basically old school. And feel free to have your own opinions, or if you have certain strategies that really help with students with their facts, I am all ears. Like, please let me know. But we are gonna implement a system to encourage our students to memorize their math facts and master them. Now, looking at a typical 5-day week, because that's what this is. Who knows about next week, but it's fine. We'll figure it out as we go. On Monday, Wednesday, Friday, during our math block, kind of right at the beginning, we usually start with like a spiral review problem, and then we have fluency practice. We are gonna implement 5 minutes where basically we're setting a timer and our students are going on to iReady and doing this, it's called Fact Flight. I think that's the name of it. It's new. We didn't have it last year. It just came like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something, but it's down at the bottom of their iReady screen, and it basically progresses them through their facts. It does start with addition and subtraction, but then eventually multiplication and division. So I know, at least initially, not all of my students will be on the multiplication practice, but it's fine because we still need addition and subtraction practice too with our facts. But every week, hopefully, students will have anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes of practice on that fact flight fluency practice thing through iReady. Then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we are gonna give our students one of those like timed math fact drills. Now, yes, okay. My team teacher made these copies. She just used mathaids.com where you can like choose what facts and how many on a page and all that. And we are kind of grouping the facts together. So this week, on Tuesday, every single student is going to complete facts that are focused on zeros, ones, and tens. And they have to do 60 of them in a minute. Now, in order to progress to the next level, they have to get all 60 correct in under the 3-minute time limit. Then, once they move on to the next level, I believe this one is 2 4s and 8s. So again, it's just a page of 60 problems, 3 minutes. Then they move on to 3 6s and 9s. So we're kind of focusing on those like doubling, like if you know your 3s, you can double them to get to your 6s. And then finally they will work on their, I think that was all that was left, 7 8s and 12s. So kind of those harder ones to memorize. So there's basically 4 tiers. Now, students will be progressing at different rates. So there will be some students who pass the first level on Tuesday and then move on to the second level on Thursday. There will be other students who will have to repeat level 1 several times before they're able to move on. But as students complete a level, they will get to sign the number that corresponds to that level. So we're starting with zeros, ones, and tens. So they will get to sign the 0, the 1, I don't have these in order, the 1, and then the 10, which has 2 because, you know, it's 10. Now, these are just big numbers that I printed on cardstock, laminated, and then cut out. Not very well, case in point, but it's fine. I cut them out. I think my plan is to put these on my cabinet, and students are gonna use a vis-a-vis, so a wet erase marker, to sign it. That way, it stays on there. I don't have to worry about it getting erased, but I can use water and be able to take it off to reuse these next year. So I printed these just in like rainbow order. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you're a teacher, you know. 6, 7. I'm so over it. 8. Some of you watching this are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And if that's the case, be happy you don't teach. 9, 10, 11. Is that going the right way? I think so. And then 12. Now, after students have surpassed those 4 levels, then their goal is to complete 60 of just mixed facts. So it's gonna be all of them together within 3 minutes. And at that point, they get to sign the crown. They will be a multiplication master. So on a typical week, Monday would be 5 minutes of the fact flight game. Then Tuesday, they're gonna do a time test. Wednesday, they're gonna do 5 minutes of the fact flight game. Thursday, time test. Friday, 5 minutes of the fact flight game. So it will just kind of repeat. Now, I know there will be people who are like, when I had to do those drills in school, it stressed me out. Yeah, me too. Like, I have memories of being in 3rd grade and being stressed out. But more than that, what I remember is when I finally passed and I got it was 100 facts, and we had to do it in 5 minutes. When I got all 100, I got this little magic 8-ball keychain that I'm pretty sure I still had up until I was in like college, that was just so exciting to get. Like, I felt like I earned it. It felt like a badge of honor when I put it on my bag, because then everyone knew that I had passed my facts, at least everyone in that class. So I did want to come up with some incentives for my students. So once they have passed those 4 levels where we're splitting up the facts, they will get this Math Whiz ribbon. Now, I just got these in a bulk pack on Amazon, and I can fill out the back with their name and the date. So hopefully every single student will end up earning their ribbon. Then, once they have signed the crown, they've passed the mix bag, whatever you want to call it, they will get one of these medals. Again, I just got these on Amazon. Oh, this is gonna make a mess. Okay, we're not gonna take it all the way out of the bag, but I will just show you what it looks like. And these are like legit medals. They're not the plasticky ones, they're like metal. Like, yeah, you hear that? Okay, they're real. And so I know my students will be super excited about that. In addition to this, I did email families on Friday, and I just let them know, hey, we've really noticed students are struggling with their facts, and here is kind of our plan to focus on this in class. I also went through the background of why it's important for students to know their facts.
Fact: bears eat beets.
Gave them some examples, and then I gave them resources to use at home. So like some different websites with fact fluency games, using flashcards, which isn't the most fun, but I also went over games like Multiplication War that you can play with just a deck of cards. So I gave them ways to kind of focus on this at home. Today we're gonna kick it off. I'm gonna explain how it will work to my students. They're gonna start with their fact flight, 5 minutes, and then tomorrow will be the first like actual time test. And we'll see how it goes. Like, I may have to adjust along the way. This is just the initial plan. This is the pla, as I always say. What did that come from? I can't remember if it was an episode of The Office or something, but someone's like, I don't have a plan, and then someone else is like, I don't even have a pla. So that's always what I say. I'm like, this is my pla. Like, it's just my starting point, and we will figure it out from there. Another glimmer is we have a new seating arrangement. It's kind of funny because we took our interim test last week, as I mentioned, and so we had to have our desks all in little individual rows and columns. And then after school on Friday, you could hear like all of the teachers in the hallway that were still here, because we had trunk or treat after school on Friday. We'll come back to that. But we were all like moving our desks, and then we were all peeking into each other's rooms going, okay, what arrangement are you using? And trying to get ideas. Now, I have mine kind of pivoted in order to be facing the board up there. So we'll see. I don't know. I've never done this as a seating arrangement, but I did go ahead and make a seating chart, which I just do that within my sub binder, and then that way I print 2 copies. 1 copy for me to have like when I'm giving students their new seats, and then also a copy to put in my sub binder, but I don't have to do double work. Also, you may notice, well, probably not, because I don't think you ever actually saw the name tags before, but I used to have student names up in the corner. I had one on the left for my morning class, one on the right for my afternoon class. I went ahead and ripped them off. I'm not putting new name tags on the desks. Now, since I'm not putting new name tags out at their seats, I do need a way to identify where they sit for today. Obviously tomorrow, then they know where their seat is and it's fine. But I got the idea on Friday, rather than just putting out like a sticky note at their seat, I had picked up these Halloween pencils at the dollar store several weeks ago because I wanted to get them early, and thank goodness, because it has snuck up on me. And originally I was like, oh, I'll hand them out on Friday. And then I realized, like, meaning this Friday, Halloween, that wouldn't make a lot of sense, because the whole point of them being Halloween pencils is they can use them leading up to Halloween, not after. So I decided I'm going to give them to my students today, and I can put them out at their seats with their name on it so then they know where to sit. So over the weekend, I made just these little tags. I did them on Canva. I will link them if you are interested. But down at the bottom, it just says, our class wouldn't be the same without you. So it's, you know, a cauldron, witch, you get it. But my thought is I can put these in so it looks like it's almost like in the cauldron, right? Like, are you picking up the vision? Because that's the idea that I have. Now, I don't have, well, I do have tape, but I don't have like washi tape. I could also hole punch them. Okay, let's play around with this. I have some extras, so we can figure it out as we go. This is a 3/8 inch hole punch because a regular hole punch, like what you put on papers, is not big enough for your pencil to go through. This one is a little bit wider, so then your pencil will slip through it. Oh, there's still, I don't know what that's from, but my thought was I could punch this. I don't even know if it'll go in wide. No, it's gonna be off center. No, that's gonna bother me. Okay, my original thought was I could like hole punch it and it would look like it was going like into the cauldron, and then, nope, we're gonna tape. We're gonna tape. But I'm just gonna use this like clear tape. Oh, I did move some things back here. I'll show you that after I finish this. But I'm just gonna tape it on, but it's gonna look like it's sticking in the cauldron. Let me do one as an example. Is that gonna look lame? I don't think I sized these right. I mean, I couldn't really well, I could have made them longer if I did it portrait instead of landscape. It's too late now. But I don't want it to cover the words. But does that look weird with it like sticking off of the thing? Nope. Don't overthink it, Michelle. They are 9 and 10 years old. They're not gonna care. Okay, so we're just gonna use tape. Boom. Done. Good enough. That is the theme of this school year. Okay, so this was another change that I made last week. I have not relabeled those drawers because it has not been a priority, but back here behind my small group table, I used to only have this cart, which this is technically a printer cart, and then I have this monitor stand on top of it to give me a little more height. I have those both linked on my Amazon, but what I really like is it gives me a home base for my laptop. I have this little cable hider thing in order to put the charger for my laptop. I keep various papers and things that I need in here for like lunch bunches, extra credit. These are extra like hundreds for my students' notebooks. And then I have sticky notes and things like that. This then has all of my like binder clips and pens and scissors and whatnot. And then underneath I have Skittles and I have stickers and my like easy grader and things for when I'm grading. So it's just kind of a nice home base for my stuff that I use frequently at my back table. But with math intervention back here, I needed a spot to put more supplies. So I took one of the 3-drawer carts. Since I moved desks around, I'm only gonna have 4 of them out rather than 5. And basically on top, I have my caddy. Now this has like pencils, erasers, dry erase markers, and then this is just like a yellow marker. I use it a lot when I mark student exit tickets. I have my binder for student intervention for math where I just keep track of all my data. I have whiteboards and then my clipboard that I use to track like their progress on exit tickets and basically like in the moment observations during class. And then this has other like math resources. So I have like, you know, fraction comparison, flip chart things, and then I have place value charts, and I have dice, and I have place value discs, and just all of the little manipulatives and things. As of right now, the bottom drawer is empty. I know it won't stay that way, but I enjoy having the extra space just in case. Okay, the school day is done. It's been about an hour. I had a team leader meeting right after school. Just got back to my room, and you know what? I'm kind of proud of my back table. It's not super messy. But I thought of some things throughout the day. This morning when I mentioned the quote of, I don't have a plan, I don't even have a plot, and I was like, I think it's from The Office. No, it's from Friends. I knew it didn't sound right when I said The Office. Phoebe says it in Friends. Also, when I mentioned the multiplication fact quizzes, like the timed tests, the first one, it's 0, 1, 5, and 10, because all of a sudden I was looking at the numbers. I was like, I never said 5, and 5 was a part of one of them, and I couldn't remember it's a part of the first one. Let me go ahead and show you, because I did get the numbers hung up. So here's the display on the back cabinets. I basically just group them in number order rather than the groupings that they will be on the test just because it makes a little more sense. So when they pass a level, for example, the first level that is 0, 1, 5, and 10, they will get to sign each of those numbers with a wet erase marker. So they will actually get to sign 4 different numbers, and I literally just use blue painter's tape in order to attach them to the cabinet. And then again at the end, once they pass for the final level, they will get to sign the crown. And because we are using wet erase markers, I can reuse these year after year. I could have just printed them on regular paper, had them sign them, and then get rid of them at the end of the year, but I like to reuse as much as possible. Now, let's talk a little bit about how I've been feeling lately, because I alluded to it this morning, but I didn't go into details because, again, I know there are some people who maybe don't want to hear it or don't want to surround themselves with the negativity, and I completely get that. And I will start by saying that after I kind of share a little bit about how I'm feeling, I am gonna talk about what changes I'm making or what I'm doing differently, because I am a big believer in being part of the solution, not the problem. And I think it's healthy sometimes to rant and have a way to express your emotions and kind of get it out of your system. But at the end of the day, after that, you have to move on. And so you have to make changes in order to help the situation. Sometimes the situation is just temporary, and once you move on from it, like that's it, you just had to get through it. But for a lot of things, especially within education, when they are things that we cannot control that are causing us stress or overwhelm, you have to realize, okay, I may not be able to control A, B, and C, but can I control D? Can I control E? And you have to find those little nuggets that you can kind of take control of in order to make it better. It may not still be perfect, and it may still cause you stress and overwhelm, but it can at least be an improvement. So last week, it's crazy because I vlogged on Tuesday, and that was right after our U Day, which was kind of like a personal day where we got to take time for ourselves. And I was feeling really good after that day. I kind of took care of some things at home, but I just feel like for the past couple of weeks, I've been trying to get ahead and just not successful with it. And so it's this like day to day, I'm just running on a hamster wheel, and I feel like I'm never making forward progress. And all of a sudden on Thursday, it just kind of hit me. And if you're like me, you kind of hold it all in and you pretend like I've got it all under control, I can do this. And then something will happen and it just makes you realize like, actually, no, I don't have it all together. And I had that moment on Thursday. We were having our like grade level weekly team planning. And I remember we were having internet issues, so that didn't help. But I was seated right here actually, and some of my team teachers were around me, and then I had my notes and things pulled up on the board, and so I was trying to type and take notes. And it was just like one thing after another. We were talking about the accommodation logs, we were talking about the new intervention program, we were talking about the lesson internalization, which is where you're basically supposed to take the lesson that you're teaching and you go through it almost like a mock lesson in order to prepare for it. It's like, but realistically, there is no way for me to do that for every subject that I teach on a daily basis when I have 50 minutes of planning time, but in reality, I only have that 3 times a week because the other 2 I'm in meetings, and then of those 3 times a week, sometimes I'm in meetings for those too, and it's not sustainable. And I just had this moment where it felt like a big wave of, Michelle, you've been keeping it together, and it's like my body was revolting, and it's like you just can't do it anymore. And I kind of had that like feeling where you're trying to hold back tears, but your body's like, no, you need to cry. And so I started welling up, and thankfully, like, I don't know if anyone noticed or not, no one said anything, which I appreciate because I do not like crying. I do not like expressing emotions. I do not like feeling vulnerable.
No, woman, no cry.
Especially around like my coworkers. I don't know, I'm fine doing it around Billy, and that's about it. I just don't like being overly emotional around other people. And at the same time, it was a moment where my body was just like, you don't have a choice because you've been trying to hold it all together. And like, I think what got to me is the fact that I am like working these really long days, and it still felt like it wasn't enough. And I was kind of telling some of my coworkers, it's this whole like, I'm getting here at, 5:20 in the morning, staying for 12 plus hours sometimes, going home and still working on things for several hours. And am still barely getting what needs to get done. And that is very frustrating because I feel like I have nothing else to give, and I don't like feeling like I'm not doing enough or not doing a good enough job. And I know there will be people saying, that's not sustainable, you can't keep doing that, you're headed toward burnout. I know. I don't want that. But at the same time, I'm also not okay with letting things fall through the cracks and feeling like I'm not doing enough. And so I realize I have to prioritize, I have to figure out what matters. And I know that after this week, when my team teacher comes back, it will be better. And so I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I think that that helps. But at the end of the day, I do have to make some changes, and I need things to be more sustainable. So I just got back from the team leader meeting, and with our accommodation logs, which thank you, because I had a lot of people reach out with like suggestions. Up until right now, like we didn't really have flexibility. It was kind of like, here's the system we're using, this is what we need to do. But I did find out that we can digitize them, and I think that's what I'm gonna do because it will make it easier, at least for me. I know it may not for everyone, but for me it will. So that's one thing that I'm gonna do. Now, the time to do that, I don't know. We'll find it at some point, but that's one change that I'm gonna make. And then intervention, I just need time to like kind of map it out and get it ahead, but I don't know, it's a work in progress. That all being said, it's just the acknowledgement of I've gotta make some changes, and I'm aware of that. But more than anything, I miss prioritizing my students. I think that's what bothers me the most, is like when I feel overwhelmed, why? When I feel overwhelmed and stressed, and I'm just trying to figure out like what's the next thing I need to do, I am very bothered by the fact that it then impacts my students, because that is not okay with me. And just earlier today, I was thinking about how we haven't been doing as many cheers, and it's because we're so go, just trying to get through the curriculum and trying to get the lesson in, that I don't feel like I can stop even for 15 seconds to give my students a cheer. And that is sad, and that bothers me. And even today, I had a student who kind of like, we did a cheer and then they were like, hey, we haven't done as many of those lately. And I was like, I know, and I apologized to them. And I'm like, look, I'm really sorry. And it just, that's the part that's not okay with me. It's not even the impact it has on me, it's that it should not impact my students in that way. And it's things like, I used to always stand at my door and greet and welcome my students, and I have not been doing that lately because I'm trying to use that time to pull students, to get redos done, to get them, caught up on work, or to give them intervention, and that is such valuable time that I'm trying to use for academic things because I'm, otherwise I don't have enough time for that. But it should be dedicated just to talking to my students when they come in the morning and making those connections and building those relationships. That's what should be a priority. So I will say I'm proud of myself for staying on top of my postcards. I've shared before, we write a personalized postcard for each student. And I think I only have 5 or maybe 6 students left. So I've been making good progress with that. And today I gave my students their pencils, and getting to see them excited and be, appreciative of them reminded me I do love doing these things. And that's why when I share these, I know there's people who are thinking, Michelle, you don't need to do that. Yes, I do, because I teach for my students, and these are the things that help me build relationships with them and make them feel loved and make them feel special and make them feel validated and valued and celebrated in our class, and build those connections. And that is what is most important to me, because that comes first. As Rita Pearson says, kids don't learn from people they don't like. So another element of this whole thing is I need to make sure that I am prioritizing my life outside of school and having things to look forward to, because I cannot make my entire life teaching as much as I love it. And so I'm back in my typical workout program and training now for nationals for powerlifting, and I think that that's good. I needed that. And then things I'm currently looking forward to, other than my team teacher coming back, this Friday is Halloween. Billy and I are gonna do some snack-cootery. So we are just gonna make a big spread of snacks and have that for dinner. And I'm looking forward to that because I love me some snacks. And then Billy and I are going to Lockhart, which is south of Austin. It's kind of like the barbecue capital of Texas. And we are attending Barbecue Fest. We're doing the World's Fair on Saturday, which should be a lot of fun. Again, I love food. What can I say? But It's little things like that that I want to make sure I keep like scheduling to make sure that I have those things that bring me joy outside of teaching, because times like this when teaching still brings me joy, but a lot of the stuff that comes with teaching brings a lot of stress. I need to make sure that I have other things that can also bring me joy, so that even when I'm feeling overwhelmed with this, I have other sources of that joy. I think that's it. I know that was a lot, and I'm sorry for dumping that on you, but at the same time, I think it's important for me to express those feelings, because if you are looking at me and never think I have it all together, I can assure you I do not. I do my best, because I will always do my best, because that's who I am as a person, but my best isn't always good enough. And I have to be okay with that. And I also want to document this, because then there will come a time once my team teacher is back where I look back and I go, wow, you know, I was really stressed, but I made it through and I feel better now. I know that time is coming. So if you did find this helpful, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I'm not vlogging the rest of the week because I am in survival mode. We are surviving, not thriving. But I just need to focus on me this week. But I will catch you again at some point next week and fill you in on all of the things. And as always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, and that goes for me too. I promise, I'm putting them on, and I will catch you in the next one.